it's Carol. Welcome back to my channel. Sorry, I know this is like the weirdest setup ever, but I have a window right here and the lighting in my usual spot with my blanket over there. It was just way too dark and my lamp's broken. So I thought at least this way, even though I'm kind of like grayish blue, the lighting's a little bit better from some natural light. So one of these days I'll be able to get an actual ring light and camera and be able to make real YouTube, well, I guess these aren't real YouTube videos, but you know what I mean, better looking ones. But, and sorry, my hair's nuts, and Nixon says hi.
Hi.
All right, but today I'm just going to get right into it because this is going to be kind of a long video. I might break it into two different parts actually, because just the story itself and then the conspiracy theories of it are just crazy. This is mind-blowing. If you have not heard the story yet of John Titor, which is one of the most convincing time traveler stories, or accounts I guess, then you are in for a treat if you've never heard this. This is like my favorite story ever. It's just so compelling and crazy, and just wait until you hear the conspiracies of who John Titor might possibly be, which might be my next video if I break it into two. But let's just get right into it. John Titor is a man who claimed to be a time traveler from the year 2036. In November 2000, John Titor started posting on an artbycg forum with the username timetravel_0. This was when the internet first started becoming like a thing, and not a lot of people were online except for like people who really knew how to use it and like computer scientists and stuff. So there wasn't a whole lot of people online. Watch out.
Thanks.
His first message on the forum said, "Greetings, I'm from the year 2036. I'm on my way home after coming back to get an IBM 5100 computer system from the year 1975. My time machine is a stationary mass temporal displacement unit manufactured by General Electric. The unit is powered by two dual topspin positive singularities that produce a standard offset tippler. I'd be happy to post pictures of the unit." He was really open about his story, open to answering questions, and like he said, even posting pictures for people. So he said that he was born in 1998, and his last post was on March 21st, which is my birthday, of 2001, saying he was leaving our world and going back to 2036. John Titor never showed up on the internet again after that. Titor explained that he was part of a military group that was sent on a mission to go back to 1975 in order to obtain some computer technology. It was a secret function on the portable IBM computer from the 70s. He said they needed it because something happened in 2036 and there had been a huge war where we lost all communication. So they needed this old function on the IBM that the IBM had of being able to read and translate different computer codes. John Titor's grandpa was a computer engineer or scientist, I guess, and had one of these computers, so that's why he was one of the ones that the military sent. This function was completely secret. Nobody knew about it, so when Titor was explaining it to people in 2000, they kind of questioned him. But in 2004, IBM actually announced that this secret function that this computer had was real and did exist. So that's kind of crazy. Going to some people think that John Titor might have stopped Y2K, which on New Year's Eve 1999, people were really worried about. There was this computer bug that would get messed up once all the calendars changed to 2000, like the computers just couldn't handle it or something like that. So everybody on Wall Street was working that night, and it wasn't one of those New Year's where we're like excited and counting down. Like people were really worried. I remember me and my family too. Everyone was kind of on edge. But once the clock struck midnight, nothing happened. But there's not really any like evidence or proof to back this up. Just some people who go along with the John Titor story think that maybe the reason he came back, you know, in 1999, 2000 was he wanted to stop Y2K from happening, which is why it didn't happen for us. And I'll explain that in a minute, the whole how time travel works thing. When John Titor went from 1975 to 2000, he actually went back to his family. He somehow convinced them that he was who he said he was and was able to stay with them. So since he was born in 1998, he was only 2 years old in 2000. So in his house, there was the 2-year-old version of him and this older version living at home, which is kind of crazy, but like I said, he'll explain it. He explains it more on how the time travel thing all works. John Titor made a lot of predictions on this forum, a lot that came true, but some that didn't. Some discredit Titor by saying that since some of his predictions didn't come true, that he was a fake. But Titor explains that with time travel, you do end up altering timelines just slightly. So some of the things he predicted may have happened in his timeline, but not in ours. So instead of time being like a linear, just back and forth thing, you can't go back specifically in our time, but you can like hop like parallel universes or different timelines. And when you do so, it kind of alters them slightly. So this was kind of like the thing that believers in Titor used to back up if people were like all the naysayers, you know. But one of his predictions was in a forum post. He asked, "Can anyone share with me how you solved the overheating issue on your space plane?" Nobody knew what he was talking about, but in 2003, the Columbia spacecraft burst into flames due to an overheating issue. Excuse me. Another thing that skeptics have critiqued, though, is that Titor used the phrase or term space plane, which you think if he's from the future that he would have used more of like a futuristic or at least updated term. But again, to back him up, you know, that might have been what they called it in his timeline. Another prediction he had and warned people about was mad cow disease, which did hit the U.S. in 2003, but it never actually became an epidemic, which is what he kind of said was going to happen. He also warned of a civil war coming in 2004, with civil unrest surrounding the presidential election that year. Which I think that's the year Obama got elected, right? Although that never happened, we did end up going to war with Iraq, which caused some civil... Oh, no, 2008 was Obama, so this was still Bush. We did end up going to war with Iraq around that time, which caused a lot of civil unrest, people disagreeing with President Bush on his decision to go to war. He also said that we would have a brief but brutal World War III in 2016. Again, we thankfully didn't end up with that, but there was the threat of possible nuclear war in 2016 with North Korea during President Trump's first year as president. The doomsday clock was even actually set to 2 minutes to midnight, which is the first time they had done that since the Cold War? Yeah. Due to border clashes and overpopulation, which are things that Trump was known for during his campaign. Which is what... Titor said that our World War III would be caused by border clashes and overpopulation, which is kind of like what Trump's known for. So they think, you know, like I said, his timelines of what happened may be altered a little bit, and he may be off because we're on a different timeline, if that makes any sense at all. Hopefully I'm somewhat making sense through all this. Another prediction that Titor had, he said that Stephen Hawking would come out admitting that the biggest mistake of his career was that he was wrong about how black holes work. People on the forum actually criticized John for this, saying, how dare he try and disprove and slander Professor Hawking. But in 2013, Hawking actually did come out saying he was wrong, calling it the biggest blunder of his scientific career. So that's kind of crazy. Titor would answer any questions and talk about anything except for natural disasters or anything that someone could profit off of. So gambling, lottery tickets, sports, things like that. He was actually known to get mad at people who would ask him things like that, because he said that's why we're known in the future as the most money-hungry, selfish generation, which is true and currently being said about millennials. John said, "Here you have the chance to learn about your future, things that you can share with your fellow man, but instead you only care about your own gain." He said that our greed was actually what caused us to go to war again in the future, which is kind of crazy. So the time machine itself. It does have a few similarities to Back to the Future, so people speculate that maybe he was just a super fan of the movie, but who knows. Life imitates art. So Titor said that the machine was about 500 pounds, yet small enough to fit inside a suitcase, and that he had to travel with it inside of a car. He claimed, so this is crazy, he claimed that the first time machine was installed in the back of a 1967 Chevy Corvette. I couldn't find what year he said it was actually built, but yeah, he never said like what year the first time machine was actually built, which there's time travel stuff going on at CERN, which is going to be another video of the place CERN that I talk about. That's actually going on right now, so I wonder if it was around this time when the first time machine was actually created. He did post a schematic and a blueprint of his time machine on the forum that he said was called a C204 time displacement unit, and I'll insert a picture. Many people, including car experts, mechanical engineers, mathematicians, and more, have dissected and dissected the schematic and still to this day have no clue what it is. It was thought maybe it was like stolen or inspired from some other kind of machine or engine, but nobody has been able to figure it out. Titor said that the machine was energized by microsingularities or mini black holes, which was used by ejecting electrons onto them and altering their spin, which creates a gravity field, allowing you to travel back and forth in time, or to different timelines. So apparently he has this extremely heavy suitcase that contains 2 tiny black holes in the back of his car that allow him to bounce around from universe to universe, parallel universes. That's just crazy to think about. Sounds a little far-fetched, but as we go more into it, it gets a little bit crazier. As much as people say, oh, we got that idea from a movie, a lot of technology actually has been invented because it was first seen and inspired by movies. The whole life imitates art thing. Oh, so what's crazy, though, is John Titor actually said that a company called CERN, which, again, is what I'm going to talk about soon, they're a research facility that is looking into, like, black holes and stuff like that, and just doing some really secretive stuff, and it said that they're looking into time travel. So it's crazy that John said that this company CERN was actually the first one, the people who created the black holes and discovered how to time travel. What else? Yeah, it's just hard to not believe what he said when it's like literally going on as we speak. John explains that the way time travel works, okay, so here he talks about it, is through parallel universes. That time isn't linear. You can't go back to the past of your own timeline. It will differ a bit. So, John Titor said that we still hadn't made contact with aliens by 2036, but he did believe after time traveling and seeing how there's parallel universes, that it's possible that UFOs and aliens were just other humans time traveling, and he called them space travelers. So that's crazy to think about. Oh, and another thing too, people think that he predicted 9/11, which kind of did in a certain way. When he was speaking about like changes to people about changes between our timeline and his, John mentioned that we were missing one huge skyscraper in New York City. So people believe that he was talking about the new One Trade Tower. So that's just pretty crazy to think about. Another prediction John Titor had was of these internet nodes, which he explained to be actually wireless internet, which obviously came true. I'm using it right now. So yeah, this is already pretty long, so I'm going to make a part 2, which is when we get into the theories, and you guys are going to be mind blown when I tell you who people think he actually is and the evidence behind it. It's just crazy. So I'm sorry again for this weird setup, but hopefully you guys still like this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, stay creative, and I'll see you next time. Bye.